And I try to think of culture as an iceberg. It's a simple way of thinking about it, but I think it's simple with a certain level of eloquence. Now, you can put in whatever you want above and below the waterline based on who your organization might be and what's important to them, but fundamentally what we're focusing on here is everything that's below. Okay, that's the hardest thing to change. You know that, I know that. And that's really how we think about what we're trying to do here, is to recognize that element. For us, the Denison, which is, I always try to figure out when the first Denison, but I recall like a paper and pencil version, I mean, it goes back a long ways that I've used the Denison in one form or the other. I'm part of that baby boom generation. I have wavy hair. In my case, it's waving goodbye. But, that said, the reality is what you see there 1 through 7, you can really do a crosswalk with the Denison. And so for us, the tool we use to drive the change is essentially that framework that you see 1 through 7. We didn't call it the Baldrige. Okay, the phrase we use and the phrase that's used within higher education essentially is educational excellence. That fits our culture. Baldrige, what the hell is that? We don't want anything to do with that. Okay, so we had to make it fit what worked for us, and you do the same thing. So this is our sort of guiding framework, recognizing the foundation for this to decide what it is we need to do comes back, of course, to the Denison. It helped us clarify for everybody across the entire campus, because this is widely distributed. Remember one of my earlier slides, transparency. So anything I'm showing you here is available on the website. Anyone can look at it. We talk about it all the time, so forth and so on. So let's go to phase 2, okay? This is, again, right out of Cotter. There's, little originality in the world, so I'm not going to take credit for this, okay? So here we are, okay? Well, we put together what we call a leadership team. So we went down below, say, the head of a department chair. We went down to the chairs. We added heads of certain departments and key people within those departments. So we have about 80 people out of roughly 1,000 employees. This is faculty and staff, not just faculty within that leadership team. We added strategic thinking councils. Those councils represent each one of those 5 mission-centric areas. They now get together on a quarterly basis because they have evolved. We used to get together on a monthly basis because of the need to communicate, keep the message constant, and making sure the information was getting distributed down and across the entire organization. As I mentioned, you've seen this before, this was key to communicating the new culture. And one of the key pieces there is the performance measures. Because accountability, other than the annual evaluation of a faculty or a staff member, which didn't, by the way, occur on a regular basis all the time, it does now, that was the essence, if you will, of what we had in terms, essentially, of looking at any aspect of accountability. This is the leadership development model, which we never had before. The culture is essentially what you're very familiar with on the left. On the right represents, again, what we call educational excellence, but it's essentially the Baldrige. Every one of your states has a comparable association for state-level award, okay? This is the framework that we use to essentially drive everything we do related to leadership development. This is the basic model, okay? Competency-based is the starting point, issue of values. We move that up eventually in training people to be in a position to lead the organization. Absolutely essential. It's not something that's typically thought of within higher education, but it's absolutely critical. We don't want people just to move to become a department chair or to become a dean simply because they've got the highest rate of funding. It doesn't give them the skill set they need today to survive. We've had some successes in terms of what we've done. We've driven this through the human resources. We've talked about that yesterday. We do a 360 degree. We use the Denison tool. We're in the throes of those results are literally in the mail back to us now for the 2nd time. So we link the 360 Denison along with the culture. Excellent match because they just overlap very well. We've really done a lot in new employee orientation and faculty orientation. We've worked very hard in that. Again, we talked about the use of those strategic thinking councils, refocused what their emphasis should be, but we've kept that as a top priority. Those councils are not just made up of high-level individuals. They're made up of faculty and staff, mostly where the point where rubber meets the road. Because we're looking for input not just from the top level. We get that at the executive team. We want to hear it from everyone in the organization. The annual faculty and evaluation I talked about. We have a now Center for Learning and Development, which has helped support faculty development. Marketing and communication, communicate. You know, a lot of our younger employees, they're going to Facebook, they want to tweet. You know, they're not going to go just to simply a web page. A lot of different things we're doing. We have these luncheons with, quote, opinion leaders. You know, we have a board of visitors that comes in 4 times a year. They'll be with us here in about 2 weeks. So we've made some significant progress. This is absolutely, I think, essential. We have worked so hard on alignment. So the left, starting with our strategies, we have our initiatives. We drive that down to the level of a vice president or a dean, down to the level of a program, and then the faculty and staff, they see those same issues in their annual review. So we've worked real hard to get alignment across the entire organization.